Divisibility rules. Divisible. When a number divides evenly into another number with no remainder. Example. 36 is divisible by 2 because there is no remainder. If you divide 2 into 36, the quotient, or the answer, is 18 without a remainder. So 36 is divisible by 2. It divides into the number evenly without a remainder. A number like 35 is not divisible by 2 because there is a remainder. Divide 2 into 35, the quotient is 17, but we get a remainder of 1. So if a number divides evenly into a given number, then it is said to be divisible by that number. If it does not divide evenly, then it is not divisible by that number. We have divisibility tests, and that is a procedure for determining whether a number is divisible by another number by performing a test rather than actually dividing. So we want to be able to look at a number and determine if the number is going to divide evenly into it before we actually divide. Now, we looked at some examples already, so let's talk about the divisibility test for 2. How can you determine if 2 will divide evenly into a number without actually performing the division? Well, all even numbers are divisible by 2. Did you notice one of the numbers was even and one was odd? I think we had a 36. 36 was divisible by 2, but 35 was not divisible by 2. So if the last digit is even, then 2 will divide evenly into the number. So here's a question. Is 584 divisible by 2? Yes, because the last digit is an even number. The last digit is a 4. Now, to find the quotient, we still need to divide, but we know there is no remainder. Is 39 divisible by 2? No, we don't even have to divide because we know it's not going to work because the last digit is odd. The last digit is 9. So it's going to save us time in the long run, knowing what numbers to divide by and what numbers not to divide by. So this is actually a really good time saver if we use it. Okay, there are many divisibility tests. In this lesson, we will only discuss the divisibility test for 2, 3, 5, and 10. So if we want to know if a number is divisible by another number other than these numbers, then we're just going to have to perform the division to find out. So for example, there is a divisibility test for the number 8. It's a little bit of work. It's actually a little complicated. I think it's easier just to go ahead and do the division. It's going to be less time than memorizing several different rules, several different tests. But I think it's a good idea to memorize these tests, 2, 3, 5, and 10. And of the 4 tests that we're using here, the only one that's a little bit of work is 3. The other ones will be quite easy to determine. Okay, so the first one is 2. And we've already talked about this one. All we need to look is look at the ones digit, the last digit. If it's even, then it is divisible by 2. So if the ones digit is a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, an even digit, then our number is divisible by 2. Okay, 3. This one takes a little bit of work. If the sum of its digits is divisible by 3, so that means we have to add the numbers up and use that result and determine if 3 goes into that result. If it does, then the number is divisible by 3. So we add the numbers and then see if 3 goes into that number. Okay. Now the next one is the divisibility test for 5. And that is if the last digit is either a 5 or a 0. So we just look at the last digit, 0 or 5. And our last test is a number is divisible by 10 if its ones digit is a 0. So if the last digit is a 0, then the number is divisible by 10. Okay, let's move on. First example. Determine whether the following numbers are divisible by 2. So we don't have to actually divide. We simply look at the last digit. If it's an even number, then it is divisible by 2. If it's an odd number, then it is not divisible by 2. So the first one is 54. Look at the last digit. Is it even? Yes, it is. So it is divisible by 2 because the last digit is even. That's it. You don't have to divide. Just look at the last number. Next one, 601. Look at the last digit. Is it even? No, it is not. Therefore, it is not divisible by 2. Okay, last one, 996. Is it even? Yes. So it is divisible by 2 because the last digit is even. That was it. Okay, let's go to the next example. Now it's divisibility test for 3. And this was where we have to add the digits and then determine if 3 goes into that number. Put the answer already. So let's look at the first one, 57. It is divisible by 3 because if you add the 5 and 7, you get 12. And does 3 go into 12? Yes, it does. It goes into there 4 times. So that means 57 is divisible by 3. Now I don't know what the answer is. 3 goes into 57 how many times? I have to actually perform the division. But we know that 3 will go into 57 evenly without a remainder. Okay, let's look at the next one, 621. Do the same thing. Add the digits. Add 6 plus 2 plus 1. That gives us 9. And is 9 divisible by 3? Does 3 go into 9 evenly? Yeah, it does. So 621 is divisible by 3. Last one, 443. Add the 4 plus 4 plus 3. 11. Does 3 go into 11 evenly? No, it does not. So it is not divisible by 3. So a little bit of work. Just had to add the numbers up and then see if 3 goes into that number. You're not going to get huge numbers. You know, when you add these numbers, 5 plus 7 is 12. You know, maybe you'll get an 18 or... But it's not too bad. It shouldn't be too big of a number. Okay, let's go to the next problem. Determine whether the following numbers are divisible by 5. So the divisibility test for 5 was that if the last digit is a 0 or a 5. So that's all we need to do is look at the last digit. If it's a 0 or 5, it is divisible by 5. If it's not a 0 or 5, then it is not divisible by 5. Okay, the first one, 210. 0 or 5? Yes. So it is divisible by 5 because the last digit is a 0. B, 425. Last digit, is it a 0 or 5? Yep, it is. So it is divisible by 5. Last one, 553. Last digit is 0 or 5? No, it is not. So it is not divisible by 5 because the last digit is neither a 0 nor a 5. Okay, let's go to the next example. Determine whether the following numbers are divisible by 10. That test was we look at the last digit, the ones digit, and if it's a 0, it is divisible. If it's not a 0, it's not divisible. So we simply look at the last digit. 490, is it a 0? Yes. 315, is it a 0? No. And 700, last digit is 0? Yes. So it is divisible by 10. That wasn't too bad, was it? Okay, let's do another example. Determine whether the following numbers are divisible by 7. Well, there was no test, right? At least I didn't give you a test. So if there's no test, we simply need to divide. So we're just going to divide all those numbers by 7. So we simply divide to determine if the number is divisible by 7. Okay, so for A, divide 7 into 91, and if it comes out with a remainder of 0, the answer is it is divisible. And if it does come out with a remainder, then it's not divisible. I want to pause and work out the division. So we'll do the first one, 7 into 91. And I got 13 without a remainder. So that means it is divisible. Next is 119. So we're going to divide 7 into 119. I got 17, no remainder, so the answer is it is divisible. Last one. 7 into 211. Oh, I got a remainder of 1 this time. So my answer therefore is not divisible. Okay, that's the end of this video. I'll see you here for the next one. Have a good day.